Karen threw a rock at our window. She didn't know the Ring camera caught everything. Part 1. It started with a rock. Not a word, not a knock, not even a warning. Just the sound of glass shattering in the dead of night and the scream of my wife jolted out of bed as shards rained down like angry stars. My name is Elijah Thomas. I'm 41 years old, a father, a teacher, and a proud black man. Just 2 weeks before that night, we moved into a quiet corner of Elmsdale, a predominantly white suburb known for its old charm and community values. We bought the house with the wide porch, the red maple in the front yard, and the big bay window that looked into our living room. That window shattered at 2:13 a.m. on a Tuesday. We had no idea who did it, but the Ring camera did. Hours earlier, we were having dinner around the table. My wife Lena, our 12-year-old daughter Nia, and me. We were laughing about how she tried to microwave pasta in a metal bowl that afternoon. Okay, it sparked, but it didn't catch fire, Nia protested, grinning. Because I pulled it out in time, Lena said, shaking her head and smiling. It was the first night that felt normal since the move. We were still unpacking boxes, still figuring out the garbage schedule, still trying to find a good soul food spot nearby, but we were settling in. The neighbors hadn't exactly been warm. Most gave stiff nods. Some ignored us completely. One woman across the street, short blonde bob, tight lips, always in beige, watched us every day. From her window, no wave, no smile. We hadn't spoken to her yet, not until the rock. When I heard the glass break, I ran downstairs. The living room window was smashed. Tiny shards littered the carpet. A large rock lay in the middle of the room, smooth, heavy, wrapped in a paper napkin with the faint outline of lipstick on one corner. My first thought wasn't anger, it was fear. My daughter had been on that couch just 20 minutes before watching a movie. That rock could have killed her, Lena's voice cracked, upstairs calling out to me. I told her to stay with Nia and lock the bedroom door. Then I stepped outside. The street was empty, no footsteps, no cars. But I remembered the camera. I opened the Ring app on my phone and scrolled back to 2:13 a.m. There she was, Karen, same beige cardigan, same angry stance, a rock in her hand, standing on our walkway like she had every right. She muttered something, couldn't hear it clearly, but then she wound up and threw it hard right through the window. She stood there for a beat, then turned and walked back across the street like she was delivering a package. I watched it 3 times, my heart pounding harder each time. Then I hit save. I didn't sleep that night. I kept thinking about how easily that rock could have hit my daughter, how someone could hate us that much for simply being here. We had only spoken to Karen once at the mailbox. She told me our porch light was too bright and that our trash bins were out of alignment. She said it with a smile, but the kind that cuts. She never said welcome, just watch yourself. By sunrise, the glass company was scheduled. The police were on the way and the Ring footage. It was already on Facebook. I didn't write a long post, just uploaded the clip and wrote, "This happened to our family last night. We are new to the neighborhood. I figured our friends would see it. Maybe a few neighbors. I didn't expect it to blow up." By 9:00 a.m., it had 800 shares. By noon, over 20,000 views. Comments poured in. "This is disgusting, racist, and reckless. Throw her in jail. She could have killed someone. Who does she think she is?" Then came the headlines. Woman caught on Ring camera. Throwing rock at black family's home. Elmsdale suburb under fire after racist attack. Pure justice for the Thomases trends on Twitter. Suddenly, this wasn't just our street anymore. It was everyone's. The police arrived that afternoon. I showed them the footage. They took one look and said, "That's criminal mischief, maybe hate crime enhancement. You want to press charges?" "Yes," I said, my voice steady. "I absolutely do." They knocked on Karen's door across the street. She answered in full denial mode, said it wasn't her, said she'd been sleeping, said she had no idea what they were talking about. The officer pointed at the video. Her face dropped. They didn't arrest her that day, but they took an official report. The damage was done on our house, into her name. By the end of the week, her job found out. She worked as an admin for a real estate firm. People began tagging the company under the video. Within 2 days, their statement read, "We do not condone any behavior that compromises the safety of others or disrespects the diversity of our communities. Ms. Whitlock's employment has been terminated, effective immediately. Our street changed too. At first it was tense, quiet. Some neighbors avoided eye contact, but others they came by knocked, apologized for not welcoming us, for not speaking up, for letting people like Karen think they spoke for everyone. One neighbor brought a pie. Another offered to mow our lawn for the week. Maria, a woman from 2 houses down, left a card that read, "We see you. You belong here." It wasn't everything, but it was something. Karen disappeared from sight. Curtains closed. Car unmoved. No lights at night, but her face was everywhere else. On the news, in articles, in TikTok, explainer videos, in memes. She became the face of suburban racism, caught in 4K. And the thing she feared most, losing control of the neighborhood, was happening anyway. Only not through force, through community, through truth, through us. Part 2. The clip didn't just go viral, it detonated by Friday evening. Our doorbell camera footage had surpassed 1 million views across TikTok, Twitter, Facebook, and Reddit. Local influencers stitched reactions. News anchors called it a shocking act of targeted aggression in the suburbs. National figures began weighing in. Some called it a hate crime. Others called it a symbol of everyday racism caught on camera. And somewhere in that digital firestorm, our address leaked. People started driving by, some to drop off flowers, others to shout support from their cars. One woman even placed a teddy bear and a handwritten sign at our mailbox that read, "You are not alone." But not every reaction was positive. Backlash and divisions. By the weekend, the comment sections were a war zone. Typical Karen. Thinks she owns the neighborhood. She needs jail time, not just consequences, justice. Imagine if a black person had thrown a rock at a white family's house, and then the defenders came. We don't know what happened before the clip. Maybe they were disrespectful. You're ruining someone's life over a mistake. This is cancel culture. It didn't matter that the footage was crystal clear, or that our porch light had been left on to help our daughter feel safe in a new place, or that we had done nothing but exist. Suddenly we were under scrutiny too. An anonymous post on a neighborhood message board accused us of bringing politics into a peaceful street. Another claimed we set her up to go viral. One post even said, "They're not here to be neighbors. They're here to make a point." We weren't just victims anymore. We were a flashpoint. Karen speaks. That Sunday night, Karen finally spoke out. She posted a Facebook message made public titled "My Side of the Story." It read, "I deeply regret what happened. I was sleep-deprived, emotionally overwhelmed, and made a terrible mistake in judgment. I do not condone violence, and I never intended to hurt anyone. To the Thomas family, I am sorry I let frustration get the best of me, but I also ask the public to understand that this has been a difficult time for everyone. My career, my mental health, and my safety have been affected. I am being painted as a monster when I am simply human." She disabled comments, but screenshots spread like wildfire. The apology didn't land because she never addressed why she threw the rock. Not once did she mention race. Not once did she acknowledge that her frustration was directed at the only black family on the block just weeks after they moved in. Worse, people found her old posts. Archived next-door threads where she warned of increased traffic and unknown visitors after our moving truck arrived, complaints about unfamiliar noise after our daughter had a sleepover. A post with a blurry photo of me mowing the lawn captioned, "Don't recognize this guy. Anyone else concerned?" It was subtle, but it was clear Karen had been watching us long before she ever threw that rock. National Spotlight on Tuesday. Good Morning America called. They asked if I wanted to speak live. I said yes, not because I wanted fame, but because someone needed to say what this was really about. The host asked Elijah, "Do you believe this was racially motivated?" I didn't flinch. "Yes," I said, "because we weren't the first people to put out trash bins wrong or leave a light on, but we're the first family whose window got a rock through it." The clip trended for days. More families across the country shared stories of being followed in stores, of being reported for walking dogs, of being treated like trespassers in their own homes. Karen's story was no longer just Karen's. It was everywhere. Real consequences. By the end of the second week, Karen was fired. Karen's church issued a statement distancing themselves. Karen's property was egged. We didn't support that, but we understood the anger. Karen filed a police complaint about online harassment. But the most surprising consequence, people began turning on her from within the community. One neighbor, Rick, a retired firefighter, spoke up at a town hall meeting. This isn't about cancel culture. This is about character. And we've let people like Karen get away with bullying for years because they made it look polite. Applause erupted. Another woman added, if she did this to the Thomases, what's she done to others we haven't seen? That same night, a petition circulated demanding Karen be investigated for previous harassment complaints. Over 5,000 signatures by morning, a shift on our street. We felt it. People who used to avoid eye contact now waved, spoke, asked questions. Someone hung a banner across the neighborhood gate. Elmsdale for everyone. Nia, our daughter, started sleeping better. Drawing chalk murals again, Lena started a support group for new families of color, moving into suburban areas. And me, I started documenting everything. Because what we lived through wasn't just a moment, it was a mirror, a crack in the window that showed what lies beneath the glass. And Karen. She was still across the street, curtains drawn, porch empty, but now everyone could see her clearly. Part 3. Karen Whitlock was officially charged 10 days after the video went viral. The charges: criminal mischief, reckless endangerment, and property damage. A hate crime enhancement was under review, but the DA said the footage and public interest made the case a priority. The day they served her with papers, she was caught on a neighbor's doorbell cam, crying in her driveway, while officers calmly explained the process. That video, it went viral too this time, with mixed reactions. Some sympathized, most didn't. Because even when Karen was crying, she still hadn't said the words that mattered. I did it because I judged them, because they were black, and I thought I had the right. Collapse. Her world caved in quickly, her friends stopped visiting. Her book club disbanded. She was removed from the planning committee for the Elmsdale Autumn Fair. Her gym revoked her membership for the safety and comfort of others. Her favorite coffee shop posted a sign, "We stand with the Thomases. Hate has no home here." Even her sister posted a statement on Instagram. "I love my family, but I can't excuse what happened. Racism has no place, even if it hides behind concerned neighbor behavior." Karen's reputation was toxic. She couldn't go to the grocery store without someone snapping a photo. Teenagers made TikToks mocking her. Someone even listed her home address as the location for a fake Karen convention. She tried to fight back, calling the attention bullying, calling the consequences unfair, filing privacy complaints. But the truth is, she wasn't being canceled, she was being held accountable, and she had no idea how to survive it. Meanwhile, across the street, our family's life shifted too. Suddenly, I was getting interview requests from journalists, college professors, even a podcast hosted by Ava DuVernay's team. Lena got invited to speak at a women's leadership luncheon about courage and grace under pressure. At first, we were hesitant. We didn't want to become spokespeople. We just wanted to live. But the more we spoke, the more people came forward with stories. Teachers, mail carriers, other families of color who had been quietly targeted in nice neighborhoods. Our voices gave them courage. And slowly we realized something. This wasn't just about Karen. It was about what Karen represented and how long people like her had gotten away with it. A civil suit. 3 weeks after the charges were filed, we moved forward with a civil lawsuit. Damages: $8,400 in repairs. The glass, the carpet, emotional trauma therapy for Nia. $15,000 in defamation and targeted harassment. $100,000 in punitive damages. Karen's lawyer knew since her first had quit, tried to argue that she was under mental distress and had no prior criminal history. He requested a quiet settlement. We refused. We wanted this on public record. The judge set a hearing. The internet exploded again. The courtroom. The day of the hearing, the courtroom was packed, not with press, with neighbors. Some who had stayed quiet, some who had once agreed with Karen, some who had changed. Karen sat at the defense table, pale, her fingers twisted in her lap. We sat across from her, Lena in a navy blue blazer, Nia in a white dress with sunflower buttons, and me holding both their hands. When the footage played again, even the bailiff looked away. It was the 10th time we'd seen it. It still made my stomach knot. Our lawyer, a brilliant black woman named Camille Brooks, didn't shout. She didn't dramatize. She simply said, this wasn't an accident. It wasn't a lapse in judgment. This was deliberate intimidation. This was a message, you don't belong here. And now we're sending one back, the verdict. The judge deliberated for 45 minutes. When she returned, her ruling was simple, firm, and final. Ms. Whitlock is hereby ordered to pay $40,000 in damages. Furthermore, she is required to complete 120 hours of court-ordered bias, rehabilitation, and anger management counseling. The court recommends she remain under community observation for 1 year. Karen didn't cry. She just closed her eyes as if for the first time she had realized there would be no more escape routes. Aftermath, we didn't celebrate. We didn't throw a party. We went home, sat on the porch, and watched Nia draw chalk flowers on the new window pane. Later that evening, someone knocked on the door. It was Rick, the retired firefighter. He handed me a folded American flag. I served 20 years, he said, but I didn't really fight for anything until y'all moved in. Then he saluted me. I didn't know what to say. Karen's silence. For a while, Karen disappeared. Some said she went to stay with a cousin. Others said she was in therapy full-time. Her house sat dark for weeks, but slowly signs of life returned. A porch light flickered back on. A package sat at her door for a full day before she opened it. Then one morning she crossed the street. She didn't knock. She just stood there in front of our house and placed an envelope in the mailbox. Inside was a single sentence. I don't expect forgiveness, but I now understand the weight of what I tried to erase. Lena read it first, then folded it, then handed it to me without a word. We didn't respond. Not yet, but maybe one day. Part 4. The court verdict didn't end. Karen Whitlock, it unmasked her, and for the first time in her 52 years, she had no one to hide behind. No HOA title, no neighborhood watch, no polite small talk to camouflage. The weight of her judgments, all she had left was herself and the echo of what she had done. Therapy begins. The court-ordered rehabilitation program wasn't a slap on the wrist, it was intentional. Karen sat in a folding chair every Thursday evening in a rec center basement surrounded by a group of strangers. A man who yelled slurs at his coworker, a woman who keyed her ex's car, and a teenager who'd posted racist memes online. In the beginning, she sat with her arms crossed, silent, defensive, telling herself they were the problem. Not her, but week by week, the stories chipped away at her. One man described how his biracial son stopped speaking after hearing a racial slur at school. A woman recounted being watched every time she walked into a store, like her skin came with a warning label. And then there was Dr. Elise Monroe, the facilitator, calm, brilliant, unforgiving. One night, Dr. Monroe handed Karen a printed photo, a still from the Ring video, her hand mid-throw, jaw-clenched eyes full of certainty. Tell me what this woman believed in that moment, she asked. Karen stared, and then she broke the breakdown. It didn't happen all at once. It came in tremors. Karen sobbed for nearly 10 minutes straight, shoulders shaking, tears soaking her blouse. The room stayed silent, not in sympathy, but in witnessing. Because finally she saw it. She saw the rage she'd tried to wrap in concern. She saw the racism she'd called upholding standards. She saw the fear behind her obsession with control. And when the tears stopped, her voice returned quiet, almost broken. I threw a rock at a family that did nothing wrong because I was afraid of what they represented change. It wasn't redemption, but it was the truth across the street. We hadn't seen Karen in weeks. She didn't water her plants, didn't collect her mail. Her porch, once pristine, now sat cluttered and empty. But inside, something was happening. She began volunteering at a food bank in a neighboring city, not ours, not yet. She wrote letters to 3 former coworkers she had ghosted after they stood up for us. She even called her estranged niece a black woman and asked honestly, "Can I talk to you about what I've never understood?" Her niece said, "Yes, our side of the street." Meanwhile, life moved forward. Nia was thriving at school, winning an essay contest on civic courage, and starting a safe spaces club for students of color. Lena's women's group was featured in a national blog. And me, I was asked to speak at a citywide equity summit, something I never expected, never trained for, but felt deeply ready to do. But no matter how far we went, Karen's house was always there, a shadow and a symbol. Some nights I looked out the window and wondered not with anger anymore, but with curiosity. Was she changing? Could people change? A quiet visit. One Sunday evening, nearly 5 months after the incident, I found Karen standing at the edge of our yard. Not on it, just near. She held a pot of lilies. She wore no makeup, no cardigan armor, just jeans, a long-sleeved shirt, and a look I hadn't seen before. Humility, may I, she asked. I nodded once. She didn't walk to the porch. She simply placed the lilies on the grass and said, I don't expect to be forgiven. I know how much I took, but I wanted you to know. I'm learning who I am without fear. Then she turned and walked away. Reflection. Lena found me staring at the flowers later that night. She's trying, Lena whispered. I nodded. Yes, she is. We didn't bring the lilies inside, but we didn't throw them away either. We left them on the porch for weeks, watered them occasionally, let them bloom. Not as a welcome, but as a reminder that even rocks, when dropped, can grow something. Part 5. Forgiveness doesn't come with a deadline. It doesn't arrive with flowers on a porch or even a heartfelt apology. Sometimes forgiveness isn't a single act. It's a daily decision to release the weight even as the scar remains. And for us, it began with silence. 1 year later, spring came again to Elmsdale. The dogwoods bloomed white like soft confessions. The wind grew warmer, softer. Our daughter Nia turned 13, taller, now sharper, but still full of that curious fire. Our house no longer felt like a symbol of conflict. It felt like home. There was laughter again in the living room, chalk drawings on the sidewalk. Neighbors waved more easily now. A new black family moved in just 2 streets over. The welcome committee actually showed up. Something had changed, not just in us, in the neighborhood. Karen's path, Karen hadn't vanished. She still lived across the street, but her world looked different now. Her yard was less manicured, but more alive, wildflowers instead of trimmed hedges. A small hand-painted sign appeared near her walkway. Everyone deserves to feel safe where they live. She no longer led committees or called the city about violations. She hosted quiet book swaps. She volunteered weekly at a shelter that housed displaced families. She attended open mic nights where teens spoke about identity and fear, and listened without correcting, without interrupting. Word got around. People started saying things like, I don't know what happened to her, but she's not the same. She looks lighter, but the weight hadn't disappeared. She was just carrying it differently. The invitation. In early May, we received a letter in our mailbox, handwritten, no return address. But we knew. It read, Dear Thomases, I know the wound I created was not just on your window, it was on your peace, your safety, your place in this community. I don't ask for a second chance. I only hope you'll join me for a gathering. I'm hosting for the block, a space for truth, for growth, and for healing. You won't be asked to speak. You won't be put on display. But if you come, it would mean the world to me. Karen. We sat with it for hours. Nia read it twice. Lena placed it on the kitchen table and said, It doesn't undo what happened. I nodded. But maybe it says she's not pretending anymore. That Friday night, we walked across the street. The circle Karen's backyard had been transformed. Where there was once a trim patio, now stood a wide-open circle of chairs. Soft lanterns hung from trees. A table held tea and cookies. No cameras, no speeches, no slogans. Just people, neighbors. Of all backgrounds, ages, and colors. Some of them had once stayed silent. Some had once nodded along with Karen. Some had ignored us, but now they sat in a circle facing each other, not just physically, but emotionally. Karen stood in the center. She didn't hold a microphone. She didn't recite a statement. She simply said, I caused harm because I was afraid. And I justified that fear with rules, with control, with anger. But I can't change who I was. I can only change who I choose to be now. Then she stepped aside, and the circle began. Stories surface. One woman spoke about her son being called names at school. Another man said he'd always avoided speaking up because it wasn't his fight. A teenager admitted she used to make jokes about black hair and didn't realize how cruel it was until she listened to Nia's class presentation on identity. People cried. People hugged. And when it was quiet again, Karen turned to us. I don't expect anything, she said. But I want to say this in front of everyone. I was wrong. You never owed me anything, but I owe you the truth. I wanted to erase you. Now all I want is to learn how to live beside you, without fear, without power, just as a neighbor. Our turn, I looked at Lena, then at Nia, then I stood. You broke our window, I said. But what hurt more was what came with it, the message that we didn't belong. Karen nodded, eyes full. But here's the thing, I continued. You don't get to take away our belonging. We earned it, and we're not going anywhere. A few chuckles broke the tension, but if you're really learning, really listening, then yeah, we'll sit in this circle with you. Karen's eyes closed. She exhaled like she'd been holding her breath for a year. Nia walked over and offered her a cookie. Everyone laughed, and just like that, something unlocked. The new normal forgiveness didn't erase the past, but it reshaped the future. Karen never became our friend, but she became our neighbor in the truest sense. We exchanged garden tips, waved across the street, attended the same community events, and one fall morning, as Nia painted a mural on the sidewalk for a school project about inclusion, Karen quietly walked over with a small paintbrush. She didn't say a word. She just dipped it in purple and filled in a corner of a heart. Final reflection. Sometimes I still look at the Ring camera, not for safety, just to remember that night, the shattering, the rage, the viral fallout. It will always be part of our story, but it's not the only part. Because in the end, the community chose to confront what was ugly. Karen chose to change. And we chose not just to survive, but to lead. Not by yelling louder, but by standing stronger, by staying, by speaking, by forgiving, not because she deserved it, but because we did. We deserve peace. We deserve joy. We deserved a home where no one throws rocks, but where hearts are strong enough to catch them if they do. The end.